Dumb, cool
Weird
podcast. All right. Welcome to the Dumb, Cool, Weird podcast. Here with Alex Javo. And we're doing a new segment where we talk about independent films, and especially here in Atlanta, which, you know, a lot of people around here are making movies now. Usually I do a podcast episode where I talk about different things, mainly crappy movies from the 20th century. But now we're going to be talking about modern movies, especially the independent ones, because the independent film industry is coming back. I can definitely confirm.
Sure is. I mean, look at those Oscars.
Yeah, no, right. So exactly. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised here in Atlanta. Always had the dream of being an actor and stuff. Watching Nickelodeon and all those kid shows growing up, and then and then when you grow up older, you get into some of the classics. My grandfather showed me Scarface when I was 12 years old. And, Godfather, Taxi Driver, all those Scorsese stuff. And then Forrest Gump and, those classics. And naturally seeing, Leo DiCaprio, Christian Bale, Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, I wanted to be one of those guys, And I started acting almost 8 years ago now. And the first year was a lot of kind of like typecast stuff going on, where I kind of got predominantly Hispanic guys, and I'm not Hispanic, I'm Greek and Korean on my mother's side, and
It's on paper now.
yeah, it's on paper. And being Greek, you come across some of these Greek mythology stories, and because I was booking a lot of day player stuff, and or a couple days in and out of films and TV, wherever, I began to write and wanted to direct my own films. And so I came across this Greek myth about the first vampire, Ambrogio, and I saw it online and read it and thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And at the time I was auditioning for vampire shows and independent stuff as vampires, and could never get a break. So then I was like, I'll just break through myself, So then I started to write the screenplay, and here we are today. Ambrogio, the First Vampire, is a feature film that'll be available next week, March 11th. It'll be available on Amazon, Walmart Online, for DVD release, digital and DVD on Amazon, Fandango, Vudu, and so make sure you guys check it out.
Yeah, what would you say was one of the biggest challenges making this movie?
The biggest challenge for me, well, during pre-production, it was pretty smooth as a director. On the directing side, I tried to prepare myself best possible. I got a lot of the crew and cast, they were all direct offers, because I worked with all of them before on previous sets. As I've worked in Atlanta as an actor for almost 8 years, so I've met a lot of great people, producers, DP, and editors and composers, all that. So I kind of try to set up for myself easy as possible by getting guys that not only do I trust, but I know how they vibe, and I know how they work, and and so as a director, it was easy, getting the crew together. All my cast were all friends of mine that I met over the years on set, so I knew what they were made of. The challenge would be as the actor getting into Ambrogio. This was my first time directing a feature length. I had done one other feature film where I was the lead, Malcolm, that's on Tubi and Amazon. But for this one, he was a totally different guy. This was when you look at vampire films, you see a lot of the chiseled jaw lines of Robert Pattinson and a lot of those guys. And so I, at the time, was 215. And I was like, I got to get down to, I got to lose some weight, to portray one of these guys. And so I lost 40 pounds in 2 months. I don't recommend this at home, doing it this way. But I basically only ate 3 days a week. So it was I only ate Wednesdays and the weekend, even Saturday, Sunday. And so, because I wanted to not only look the part, I also wanted to like kind of feel what a starving vampire could feel like. I mean, because vampires, they're always starving for blood, right? That's why they go out and kill and whatever. And as human beings, we operate off of food. So it was like, if I could, and that's, I don't claim myself as a, Daniel Day-Lewis type of guy, but I have trained in Stanislavski, which is where method acting originated from. And naturally you can never be your character, but striving to be the character any way you can, just to understand them and find the empathy with the character. And that's what, I would, strive for. And so that was hard to do. He was an Italian, or he is an Italian vampire. So the Italian dialect was important to me. So I hired a dialect coach, Joseph Sfregola from South Italy. He was great to work with. Really helped me out with all the, especially the Italian lines where I do speak Italian. And just, well, I had some dinners with him. He really helped me out with just kind of understanding, what it's like to be, an Italian, kind of guy, and like some things that I may, because when you think of stereotypically, you think of kind of like Mario, like, just kind of like, how you doing? And so there was a certain elegance that he had when talking to him. He totally wasn't that. He was very stoic, the way he kind of held his shoulders and stuff. And
This is because he's been around for a long time. Because he's been around so long, it kind of makes the guy.
right. Yeah, yeah. And Joseph was like this. So I kind of modeled a little bit of Ambrogio's mannerisms a little bit after Joseph. And of course other inspirations for the film, Interview with the Vampire and Vampire Diaries and The Notebook, because it's a romance vampire film. So it's not like a Nosferatu horror kind of thing. So
The ladies are gonna eat it out.
hope so. I hope so. And so yeah, I would say getting into the character was, that work. But once we started shooting, I never felt more confident. And now with the film being finished and released, I couldn't be more satisfied with the picture.
That's good. One of the things I noticed about making the piece is, sometimes you have an expectation, right? Before you step on set, and then you step on set, and then something bad happens. And it's always those moments where something really bad happens that get the quickly on your feet, solve the problem. And I think that's what really separates the amateurs from the pros.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever have a moment like that?
Yes, absolutely. We we shot the film in 7.5 days. We were shooting. I mean, when you got a crew and a cast that's in sync, and I tried to write the screenplay so it wouldn't require so much. We had 5 locations, predominantly one. The other cast was, the main cast was 5 characters, and so a lot of scenes were 2 to 3 people talking. So it was like, so when the crew and everybody, we were all getting really in sync, and we shot 19 pages in one day, and then 32 in a weekend. It was, yeah, and so it was it was really great. But towards the end, on there were some scenes outside, and the weather, like it is in Georgia, you just never know. And it yeah, rain came in and out at one moment. We had, on this particular day, we had some fight scenes going on. We had some visual effects stuff all crammed into like one day. And it was like, I don't know what plague it was or something, but it was like batteries weren't charging, all those things. And I knew in that moment, as the director on the set, you are, your your vibe and your energy, people, thrive off of, right? And I knew if I at that moment would have broken down or gotten pissed off or something, that you wouldn't do any good for the environment. And so I knew people were looking at me and depending on me, so I just just held my composure and was like, it's okay, guys, we'll push through. And we did. Eventually the rain did stop, and eventually we had to pivot some of those scenes. Thankfully we had a big location, so there was a lot of different sections of the location. I don't want to spoil anything, but basically we had sections of the location where we didn't expect to film at, but we ended up doing it. It actually worked out better. So some of those moments may come, and you may look back, and those films are actually, or those scenes actually come out better than what you had planned. So I think being open and trying to just stay as optimistic as possible in those moments will definitely carry you and your crew through the storm.
Gotcha. What would you say is one of your first, like one of your favorite first time like director movies like that are big now? For instance, you have like Kevin Smith did Clerks, right? So like, or like another good example would be Peter Jackson. He did a movie called Bad Taste. What would you say? What director kind of like real like what first time like first film that a director did that he really enjoyed that kind of like inspired you to want to be a filmmaker?
Well, as far as their first film they ever did, um, well, let's see. I mean, there's not really first films. I mean, there's films in general that made me want to be.
Yeah, and that's fine. We could go with that because sometimes not everybody knows, like that some of these directors what their first films are. I tend to kind of look at those sometimes, but sometimes people have heard of them. I'm like Richard Linklater. His first film was a movie called Slacker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but for you, like, let's just start with this. What's your favorite film of all time?
The Godfather.
The Godfather. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Godfather, Rocky, Scarface. Being a kid that looks, like I do in Atlanta, of all places, where there's a lot of Hispanic culture and stuff down here, and I get mistaken for being Hispanic all the time, and I would kind of look at those movies and see De Niro and Pacino and Sly, and I don't think I really realized it at the time growing up, but I was kind of looking for like a role model in a way, and seeing Sly play Rocky almost like this superhero like figure, and seeing the shapeshifter of Al Pacino from Godfather to Scarface, I looked at those two movies and I was like, that's the same guy, and so really that's what really inspired me to later on be an actor and to try to be the kind of shapeshifter type of actor, because that's just what I've always loved is seeing what actors what actors do and what they can do, learning a dialect, losing weight, gaining weight, whatever it is. And but as a filmmaker, my favorite directors of all time is Scorsese and Tarantino. I mean, anything those guys.
So Reservoir Dogs. You like Reservoir Dogs?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
It's Tarantino's like first feature.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure if that was his first, because I know he was a writer first.
he was, and he did shorts before.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
but that was like his first big like
yes, yeah,
that he did that like really put him on the map.
yes, and I just got to give a shout out to one of my dear friends and filmmakers that I've worked with, Phil Blattenberger. We just did a film together that came out in theaters and streaming called Laws of Man, with Harvey Keitel in it. And so it's pretty cool to have a credit with Harvey, because loved him in Reservoir Dogs and in Laws of Man. So yeah, Tarantino's up there is one of my favorites.
It's funny. You're talking about how like some people mistake you for different races, right? That kind of reminds me of this Rob Schneider a little bit, because he's half Jewish and like white, and then the other half is I think Filipino or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So in all those Adam Sandler movies, remember he always played like an Asian guy or a Hispanic guy, and then the Indian guy. Then like in 51st Dates, he played a freaking Hawaiian.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's so great. And even Oscar Isaac too, like talked about how, the joke about a rabbi, a priest, and whatever. He's like, I can play any of them because that's what ethnically ambiguous means.
Oh my!
And Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, my dream was always to be, though, I mean, to be the lead and be the leading man and romantic interest and all those kind of roles on top of being able to shapeshift and
Yeah, having that presence. You have that presence. I'll say. Yeah. So that's like, like I'm not like, I know we shot that one short like many years ago.
yes.
And I didn't even have to give you a ton of direction. You were just like automatically I was like, hey, I need you to come out of the ocean and I need you to, I need you to like look like, it was like the best swim you ever had. And then he just like came out of the ocean. So like, like all suave and shit. I was like, damn, that was pretty good.
Yeah, West cast me my first ever film, like like as an actor. Like I got into it in 17 as an extra and taking classes and all that stuff. But West was like, come do this short film with me and in PCB, and it was just so great to be an actor on camera, because at that time I was in the background. I was the stand-in on set, watching the talent on camera do their thing and just like itching to get in front of the camera. And Wes gave me that chance, so I really appreciate that, dude. And I'll never forget that. Yeah, we had oysters afterwards.
He did. Yeah. That's really good. That was pretty great. That was pretty good. But yeah, we're talking about your current feature. What do you think the next feature is going to be? Because they're always going to want to know what's next. Because as soon as you do one, you got to do another one. You got to do another one.
Yes, yes. Speaking of, gangster films and Scorsese and Tarantino, and my next film is got to be Enzo. I did a short film of it. It's on YouTube, on my YouTube, Enzo. I did it back in 2021, and yeah, it's a classic kind of. Like a classic gangster film. It's like Godfather meets Rocky and like all of my favorite kind of films put together. And there's I draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of different classics, but ultimately I think it's like Ambrogio being unique in being a vampire film that came from Greek mythology, and it being like a love story. Like no one's ever really seen like a Greek mythology like story about vampires. So that's what makes that kind of different. And with this one, Enzo, it's having the kind of the worlds of like, professional fighting mixed with the mob. Like, it's, I mean, we've got some, gangster activity stuff in Rocky, but it's not like a gangster picture. It's a sports picture. Or it's what Sly would say, it's a love story. But yeah, Enzo is definitely, its own thing, but that's my next one that I, would love to.
You want to adapt it. You want to adapt it into a feature here, short.
Yes, absolutely. I have the first draft of the feature script ready. But yeah, I mean, with how great Tulsa King and Penguin have been this year, and watches The Sopranos and stuff, it's like, man, I think they think the gangster thing is next.
Sopranos is one of my favorite TV shows. Well,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a really good show. Did you watch the documentary with David Chase?
I watched yet. It's on my list, and I haven't seen The Many Saints of Newark, but I've heard.
Oh really?
I heard it's not as nowhere near.
No. I mean, it's I think Alessandro, who plays Uncle Dickie in it, I think he was really great. I think he was great. I just I love all gangster films. I mean, kind of like, how I love Batman films, good or bad. I still, I mean, when I was a kid, George Clooney and Val Kilmer were Batman, like at that time. Obviously Michael Keaton was the better one. But then Christian Bale came on, and then, Ben Affleck later. So it's like, I still enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the Alto Nights with Robert De Niro playing two roles, Vito Genovese and Frank Costello. I can't wait to see that.
Versus the Irish.
I was just about to say the Irishman is the one that kind of got me inspired to write Enzo. At the time in 2019, I was doing a lot of research on, like, basically trying to like, mark off every box of like these classic movies. So if I was in a conversation with, people in the industry, they're like, did you see Godfather 2, or did you see this and that? So I was watching all of De Niro's films and Scorsese's, and And Irishman started my love for gangster stuff again. Because before that, I'd seen Godfather and I'd seen Scarface. And it was, so some of the elements in Irishman and in Godfather 2, I kind of like, put into Enzo as like the catalyst kind of thing. So that's the movie that kind of got me pen to paper with Enzo, with that Irishman. So I'm got.
Well, that's cool. As we get into the end of the podcast here, what are some more cool things you want to tell us about your vampire reviews coming out? Yeah.
Well, what's really cool about it is, I've got to give a shout out to all my great, as as a filmmaker, it takes a village, and I can't thank my producers enough. Angelina Bazzelli, who gives an astounding performance, masterfully executed, playing our female lead. She was just amazing. Her character's arc in this film is like a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. I mean, she just, truly blossoms in this. She'll make you laugh, cry, and applaud, and she's just fantastic. She also script supervised, helped produce. She was the assistant editor on the project, and so the trailer that's out on YouTube now, she edited, and so she's just a wonderful force, in this film world we live in, and so she's wonderful. Dwayne Bontrager, who was my DP, editor, and producer on this thing, I can't thank him enough. He did a beautiful job putting everything together for us. And Noah Marconi's music is beautiful. It's really sets the tone of the film, and your emotions. And so I can't thank them enough. And all the actors all did wonderful. Had a great team, and it really took the billers.
So thanks for coming out and telling us about your film. I think I'm going to try to make this a regular thing where I'm talking to different people about their indie films, because I do think it's important that as a community we push forward these different voices, because I think one of the biggest tragedies of Hollywood nowadays is they just keep recycling the same garbage over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And thank you so much for having me, Wes. And thank you all so much and for tuning in. And watch my movie Ambrogio, First Vampire, available March 11th.
Yeah, and I'm going to have links and stuff so you can go watch his movie. So awesome. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Dumb Cool Weird podcast, where we cover some of your favorite movies in 20 minutes or less for your convenience. We go over what is dumb, cool, and weird about movies, and check out our Way Back Wednesdays we do sometimes for other stuff. And please share us with your friends.